Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do know the difference between a Hobbs and a street, and I do have to say that after listening to the Honourable Marion Street's speech, absolutely, I was intently because I'm new to the game of trade and new to the Select Committee of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and so I suppose I'm doing my. Sorry? Oh shit! That was funny. That was funny. You know, we're here discussing a pretty important piece of legislation, something that goes to the heart of any nation when they are faced with an economy that is, it's called the...
Point of order, the Honourable John Banks.
Mr. Speaker, objections and interruptions should be rare and reasonable. Barking and howling from the opposition side of the Parliament is not helping the debate. I can't hear the learned member and his questions. I won't be able to answer them, Mr. Speaker, if we have this barking from the Labour Party on this side of the House.
Look, I don't need any assistance, and I have cautioned the House a number of times. We do want to hear the debate. I know that there is a degree of interest and passion at the moment, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be able to hear members speaking. Honourable Tau Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When the nation is faced with a crisis around the world in terms of economics,
Order.
See, you know, that's the sort of importance that the Labour Party puts on an international piece of legislation. And they moan, they get up on their high heels, hind legs even, and moan about, we sat on this bill for ages and ages, and the shrill from over that corner, is all about obfuscation, is all about a sort of pantomime, is all sort of about a theatre. But it's not about the real issue, and the real issue is making sure that we safeguard our businesses in the world of trade. And what it is about is actually falling into line with the WTO regime. So we protect and we safeguard. Sorry? It was the liar who got sacked from Cabinet. That's what it was.
Order. I think I heard the member use a four-letter word, which is totally unacceptable in the chamber. And the member knows that because it's a reflection on all of the House. I ask the member to withdraw and apologise.
Withdraw and apologise.
Thank you.
It was from the member who got sacked for not telling the truth. That's right. That's what it was. That's from the member. No.
Point of order, the Honourable John Banks.
The carping and howling from the Labour Party must cease, Mr. Speaker, under standing orders. I need to hear the parliamentary government members ask sound and sensible questions on this important piece of legislation that I need to answer. Barking and howling, yelling and shouting doesn't do this Parliament any good and disgraces the parliamentary opposition. I ask you to call them to order.
Thank you. Point of order, I'll hear the Honourable...
Mr Chairman, I think it's fair to say that there was a reasonable amount of noise then, sir, and the noise was because the member on his feet, a former minister, suggested that ministers who mislead the public should get the sack. We were agreeing with him.
Can I just remind members that this is not a public house.
No.
And the practice of members engaging in a constant barrage of interjections actually amounts to heckling and is entirely intolerable in a debating chamber. I ask the member to continue.
What this is about is enhancing and growing New Zealand's international trade links, as I said before. And if it was so important, if a bill like this was so important, we wouldn't have the sort of pantomime, the theatre going on from the opposition. They're fixated about something else. Well, at least our side is fixated on one thing, and that's making sure that our economy doesn't tank because, I don't know anything. I know I don't. I don't know as much as the person over there that got into trouble and had to leave cabinet. That's okay. What did she do? Oh, I don't know. She told one story and then there was another story. She told one story.
Order. Order.
And then the story came out that it wasn't really the story that she really did tell. But that's all right. That was years ago, and we shouldn't go down that track into the past. Well, that's right. That's right. But we're trying to concentrate on getting a bill through that safeguards our reputation around the world, not only with other people in the world, but also with the traders and the businesses here in New Zealand. So what's wrong with that? Well, apparently, according to them, we've sat on the bill, we've done this, we've done that, but at the end of the day, have they helped today? Have they helped the process move along? And no, they haven't. No, they haven't. So, Mr. Chair, I would like to hear the Minister get up. But he can only get up. He can only get up, Mr. Chair. He can only get up, Mr. Chair, when and if the opposition have got something clear to say. And ask some questions about the bill. Ask some questions about the bill. And there hasn't been one question on part one about the bill. Not one. As Winston Peters is wont to say, not a whisper, not a murmur about part one of the bill.
Order.
Point of order. Mr. Speaker, I want to hear the Honourable Tau Hanari. I want to hear questions asked of the bill. I can't hear when there's barking and howling from the opposition.
Thank you. Can I just ask members to try and restrain themselves? And I would urge all honourable members to play the ball and not the member. And remember that, and we'll preserve an excellent field for the full play of ideas. Point of order.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted
Member
to get
Grant Robertson.
Mr. Chair, in order to keep the order of the House, one of the issues that the Speaker has been raising is the member and the Chair, has been raising is the importance of being able to hear questions. And I just would wonder if we could get an indication. I counted 16 questions that were asked of the Minister by the Honourable Marion Street. And I'm just wondering if we could get an indication if the Minister intends to answer those questions.
That is for the Minister to decide himself. Where were we? I call the Honourable Tau Hanari.
Not a whisper, not a murmur.
Point of order.
Mr. Speaker, these cowardly attacks on the leader of New Zealand First should stop. Now, the honourable member knows that it's not a syllable, not a sound. If you're going to quote, please get...
I'm on my feet. Can I just remind members to have a look at Standing Order 117? It's to do with personal reflections. It's totally out of order and is unnecessary. Call the Honourable Tau Hanari.
Point of order.
Tau Hanari.
Point of order.
Point of order, I've recognised Tau Hanari.
You gave it to me, mate.
He's taken a point of order. Sorry. Point of order. Point of order, Tau Hanari.
Mr. Chair, look, I think I'm big enough and ugly enough to handle being called names, but I don't like to be called a coward.
Well, I don't believe the member was calling the member.
Well, point of order. A point of order.
Yeah. Oh, well, in that case, then no. The member called the other member a coward. That is a personal reflection against the member. It's totally out of order. The member will stand, withdraw and apologise.
I apologise.
And withdraw.
And withdraw.
Thank you. A point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Chairman, I think it's important, for both the members. I think the quote is a Churchillian one, I think first used in this Parliament by Sir Robert Muldoon. I think giving it to Winston Peters is probably going a bit far.
Right, thank you. The Honourable Tohanari.
Not a word, not a murmur, not a whisper, not a murmur. Who cares what he said? It's all true.
The Honourable John Banks.